The alarm tore through the training dome before I even understood what was happening. Red light spun across the walls. My partner grabbed my arm and pulled me behind a metal crate. Just as the far wall cracked open under pressure it was never built to survive. "Move, Daniel," she said, and her voice had no fear in it at all. That was Grace. That was always Grace. Calm when everyone else was shaking. I had picked her as my training partner 4 months earlier, for exactly that reason, and I had no idea, not even a small idea, of who she really was. Let me take you back to how this started, because none of what happened in that dome makes sense without it. The Ashcombe Military Academy trained cadets from every corner of the Federation. Rich families sent their children there. Poor families sent their children there too, hoping for a better life on the other side of graduation. Nobody wore family names on their uniforms. Nobody talked about where they came from. That was the rule, and everyone respected it, because the instructors made it very clear that rank meant nothing inside those walls unless you earned it with your own hands. On my first week, during a pressure drill, where the floor of the training room dropped without warning, most cadets panicked. Some screamed. Some froze completely. I saw one girl standing perfectly still, breathing slow, waiting for the floor to settle before she made her next move. She did not grab the rail like everyone else. She trusted her own balance. Her name was Grace Elwood, according to the roster. Ordinary name, ordinary uniform. Nothing about her looked special, except the way she carried herself when everything around her fell apart. When the instructors asked us to choose our training partners for the year, I walked straight up to her. "Pick me," I said. "You didn't flinch back there." She looked at me for a long moment, like she was deciding whether to trust a stranger with something important. Then she nodded once. "All right," she said. "Let us not waste time then." From that day, we trained together every single morning before sunrise. She was fast to learn anything shown to her only once. She solved navigation puzzles. Instructors expected to take hours in a matter of minutes. She could read a battlefield map and predict enemy movement before the simulation even started moving. I told myself she was simply gifted. I told myself a lot of things that turned out to be only half true. She never spoke about her family. Not once. Whenever another cadet asked where she grew up, she gave short answers and changed the subject fast. I noticed, but I never pushed. Everyone at that academy was running from something, or hiding something. I had my own reasons for silence, so I gave her the same respect I wanted for myself. 6 months into training, our cohort was sent to Kell Ridge for a live field exercise. It was meant to be simple. A hired security team would play the role of an enemy force, and our cohort would defend a supply post using non-lethal training weapons. Every cadet had done exercises like it a dozen times before. This one was different from the very first minute. The moment we landed, 6 armed figures broke away from the rest of the mock enemy team and moved straight toward Grace. Not toward the supply post. Not toward any tactical target the exercise was designed around. Straight toward her, like she was the entire point of the mission. "They know exactly where she is," I said into my comm unit, watching their formation tighten around her position. "This is not part of the exercise." Grace heard me. I saw it in the way her shoulders squared and her breathing changed, slow and controlled, like she had been expecting this moment for a very long time and had simply been waiting for it to finally arrive. "Stay close to me," she said, "and trust me completely, no matter what you see next." I did not have time to ask what that meant. The first group of intruders reached the ridgeline, and I pulled Grace behind the crate just as their equipment cut through the barrier we had been using for cover. I drew them away first. 2 intruders followed my movement toward the eastern tunnel, exactly the trap I wanted them to fall into. The tunnel narrowed halfway through, forcing them into single file, and I used the tight space to disable their equipment one at a time, using training-grade disruptors. Nothing more dangerous than that. Within a minute, both of them were down and unable to continue. Exactly the outcome the exercise protocols allowed for. That left 4 intruders still closing in on Grace. I turned back just in time to see something I could never have predicted. Grace moved through the remaining 4 with a precision that had nothing to do with academy training. She disarmed the first without raising her voice. She redirected the second into the third, using their own momentum against them. The fourth backed away entirely, choosing retreat over confrontation the moment he understood what he was actually facing. When Academy security finally arrived and shut the exercise down, calling it a real security breach rather than a training scenario, every instructor on the ridge looked at Grace like they were seeing her for the very first time. They pulled us both into a private debrief room within the hour. I had never seen so many unfamiliar officials in one place. 2 of them wore formal court uniforms I did not recognize. Grace stood among them with her spine straight and her chin level, and something about her posture had changed completely. She no longer looked like an ordinary cadet waiting for instructions. She looked like someone used to giving them. "Cadet Hart," one official said to me, "you should know that your training partner is Grace Elwood Kestenvale, 3rd heir to the Kestenvale royal house. Today's attack was an attempt on her life, connected to a succession dispute within her family. It should never have reached this academy, and we are still investigating how it did." I looked at Grace. She looked back at me, and for the first time since I had known her, I saw something unguarded in her expression. Not embarrassment. Something closer to relief. "You chose me because I did not flinch," she said quietly. "Not because of any title. Nobody outside my own guards has ever chosen me for that reason before." I did not know what to say to that. I still do not know what to say to that, if I am being honest. The royal officials offered to move her onto a separate protection detail immediately, away from ordinary cadet life and away from me. She refused without hesitation. She told them, calmly and clearly, that she had chosen her training partner under the exact same conditions every other cadet used, and she intended to finish the entire program under those same conditions, or not finish it at all. I heard later that her family was deeply unhappy with that decision. I also heard that the academy leadership was quietly impressed by it, because it proved something the whole institution had always claimed to believe, but rarely got to prove in front of real royalty. Titles meant nothing inside those walls. Only steady hands and a clear head under pressure meant anything at all. We finished the rest of our training together. There were more drills, more long nights studying maps until our eyes ached, more mornings running before sunrise while the rest of the cohort was still asleep. None of it ever felt ordinary again. Not after Kell Ridge, but Grace never let her title change how she trained or how she treated the people around her. If anything, she pushed herself harder, as if she needed to prove to herself as much as to everyone else that she belonged there on her own merit. On the final day of the program, standing together at graduation with the rest of our cohort, she turned to me before the ceremony began. "I never thanked you properly," she said, "for the tunnel, for choosing to protect a stranger without knowing anything about who she really was." "You weren't a stranger," I told her. "You were my partner. That was enough for me then, and it is still enough for me now." She smiled at that, a real smile, the kind she rarely allowed herself to show in public. She still has never told me exactly what she said to that 4th intruder, to make him retreat without a single blow exchanged. She calls it a family secret and refuses to explain further no matter how many times I ask. I have mostly stopped asking, though I suspect one day, when the timing feels right to her, she will finally tell me the whole story. What I do know is this: I did not choose my partner because of a crown I never saw coming. I chose her because she stood still when the floor gave way beneath her feet, and because some people are worth choosing long before you understand everything about who they truly are. That choice, made on an ordinary morning in an ordinary training dome, turned out to be the most important decision of my entire life.